My name is Margaret Wilson, and for more than 30 years, I kept a small velvet box in the top drawer of my dresser. Inside it was a simple silver ring with a dark stone set into the band. Anyone who saw it would probably think it was a cheap piece of jewelry from a flea market. The metal looked dull, the design was plain, and the stone didn't sparkle like diamonds do. But I never treated it like something ordinary. I always handled it carefully and placed it back in the same spot every time. My daughter-in-law Jessica had seen the ring several times over the years. She loved expensive things, designer clothes, luxury handbags, sparkling necklaces. To her, value was something you could see immediately. Whenever she noticed the ring, she laughed. "Margaret, why do you even keep that old thing?" she once said while holding it up between her fingers. I took it from her hand gently and closed the velvet box. "Because some things are more valuable than they appear," I told her. Jessica rolled her eyes as if I had just told the world's worst joke. To her, if something didn't shine, it wasn't worth anything. One evening, she came over while getting ready for a big charity party in the city. She walked through the house wearing a long black dress that glittered with tiny crystals. The scent of her perfume filled the hallway as she stepped into my bedroom without knocking. "Oh wait," she said suddenly when she saw the velvet box open on the dresser. "That ring again." Before I could respond, she picked it up and slipped it onto her finger. She turned her hand under the light and smiled. "Actually, this kind of works with my dress," she said. "Vintage jewelry is trendy now." I hesitated for a moment. "Jessica, it's old," I said calmly. "You might lose it." She laughed and grabbed her purse. "Relax, Margaret. It's not like it's a diamond ring." Then she waved her hand dismissively. "I'll bring your little worthless ring back tomorrow." And just like that, she walked out the door. I stood there quietly for a moment, staring at the empty velvet box on my dresser. Jessica believed the ring was worthless. But she had absolutely no idea what she had just taken with her. The truth about the ring went back many years, to a quiet winter evening long before Jessica ever entered our lives. My husband Edward and I were sitting in the kitchen after dinner. The house was calm, and the only sound was the ticking clock on the wall. Edward placed a small velvet box on the table in front of me. "Margaret," he said softly, "I need you to keep this safe." I opened the box and saw the silver ring inside. "It's beautiful," I said, though I could see it was simple. Edward shook his head slightly. "It's not about beauty." There was something serious in his voice that night, something unusual. Edward had always been a calm and thoughtful man, but he rarely spoke with that kind of intensity. "Why is it so important?" I asked. He leaned forward slightly. "Because one day it might matter more than anything else we own." I laughed gently at the time, thinking he was exaggerating. But Edward didn't smile. "Promise me something," he said. "What?" "Never lose it. Never sell it. And don't tell anyone about it unless you absolutely have to." I looked at the ring again and then back at him. "I promise." For many years after that conversation, the ring stayed exactly where Edward wanted it, safe in my dresser drawer. Life continued normally. Daniel grew up, went to college, and eventually married Jessica. Edward retired, and we spent quiet evenings together until his health slowly began to decline. After he passed away, I spent months sorting through his old papers and belongings. One afternoon, I discovered a sealed envelope hidden inside his desk drawer. Inside were legal documents and a handwritten note. Those papers revealed something Edward had never fully explained. Before we met, he had briefly been involved in a private investment group that purchased rare historical estates in Europe. One of those investments had never been sold, but ownership of it had been secured in an unusual way. Inside the stone of the ring was a microscopic encrypted chip. That chip contained authentication codes proving ownership of a share in a private estate investment worth nearly $3 million. The ring wasn't just jewelry. It was proof of ownership. And whoever held the ring and verified the chip legally controlled the asset connected to it. I had kept that secret for years. I never told Daniel. And I certainly never told Jessica. Which meant that when she walked out of my house wearing that ring to a crowded party, she had absolutely no idea what she was carrying. The next morning, Jessica burst into the kitchen with Daniel right behind her. She looked pale and nervous. Margaret, she said quickly, I think I lost your ring. I set my teacup down slowly. Lost it? I repeated. Jessica rubbed her forehead. I must have dropped it at the party last night. Maybe when I was dancing. Daniel shrugged. Mom, don't worry about it, he said. It was just an old ring. Jessica nodded. Exactly. It wasn't worth anything anyway. The word worthless echoed in my mind again. Did you check your purse? I asked calmly. Yes, she said quickly. It's not there. Daniel pulled out a chair and sat down. Mom, we can always buy you another one if you liked it that much. Another one. I almost smiled. There isn't another one, I said quietly. Jessica sighed. Margaret, I said, I'm sorry. It's just a ring. I didn't argue. But inside, my thoughts were racing. If the ring truly had been lost at that party, it could be anywhere by now. 2 days passed without any news. I tried to stay calm, though every time the phone rang my heart jumped. On the third afternoon, the phone finally rang again. Hello, I answered. Good afternoon, a man said. Is this Mrs. Wilson? Yes. My name is Victor. I run a pawn shop downtown. My heart began beating faster. I believe someone recently sold me a silver ring that might belong to you. Can you describe it? I asked carefully. Plain silver band. Dark stone. That's it, I whispered. Victor continued. There's something unusual about this ring. When I scanned the stone, my equipment detected a microchip embedded inside. I closed my eyes for a moment. So Edward was right, I murmured. Victor sounded curious. I don't know exactly what the chip contains, but it's connected to a private asset registry. And the value? I asked quietly. He paused before answering. Approximately $3 million. $3 million. How much did the person sell it for? I asked. Victor chuckled slightly. $40. $40. I didn't need to ask who sold it. I'd like to come by the shop, I said. When I arrived, Victor placed the ring on the counter. There it is, he said. I stared at it for a moment, feeling a wave of relief. Do you know what this is? He asked. Yes. It's worth about $3 million. I reached into my purse and placed 2 $20 bills on the counter. I'd like to buy it back. Victor smiled and slid the ring toward me. Deal. Within a week, Jessica somehow discovered the truth. She stormed into my house with Daniel behind her. Margaret, she shouted. I heard that ring is worth millions. Her tone was suddenly very different from before. Yes, I said calmly. Jessica's eyes widened. Well, that's incredible news for the family. For the family? I asked. Of course, she said quickly. Daniel and I deserve a part. I looked at her carefully. Why would you think that? Because I found the ring, she said. And I sold it. Yes, I replied. For $40. Her face tightened. That was before I knew what it was. Daniel spoke quietly. Mom, maybe we could talk about sharing it. I shook my head gently. No. Jessica exploded. You can't keep $3 million to yourself. I looked at her calmly. You called it worthless. Her voice rose even louder. I'll sue you. She actually spoke to a lawyer. But when the legal documents were reviewed, the answer was simple. The asset belonged to the verified holder of the ring. And that holder was me. Not Jessica. Not Daniel. Just me. The investment was officially transferred into my name. Nearly $3 million. Jessica was furious. But there was nothing she could do. A week later, Daniel came to visit me alone. Jessica is still angry, he said. I expected that, I replied. He sighed. She thinks you tricked her. I walked to the dresser and brought the velvet box back to the table. Inside, the ring rested quietly. This ring taught me something, I said. Daniel looked at it. It still looks ordinary. That's the point, I said. People judge value by appearance. Jessica saw something cheap and treated it like trash. Daniel nodded slowly. I closed the box. Real value isn't always visible. He stood up to leave and paused at the door. Mom, I'm sorry about everything. I smiled gently. This wasn't your mistake. After he left, the house became quiet again. I returned the velvet box to my dresser drawer, exactly where it had always been. The same simple ring. The same dull silver band. But now it carried a story that proved something very important. Sometimes the most valuable things in life look completely worthless until the moment someone finally realizes what they truly are.